Nice to be here. Good evening once again. Finally some life, okay. So, it's a pleasure to be back in a university and not been to one for a very long time. And when J. Rao Garu called me to his native place to see two massive institutions today, took my head off. The J. Rao Garu Foundation, the various institutes that he has created there, the engineering college, the medical college, the general institutes, the skill training institutes, the sports institutes, and many of the facilities which I did not have the time to see was something really mind-boggling. I could make a fun presentation there. I did ask whether I could do the same fun presentation. They said no, ministers are here, members of parliament are here, very senior people are here, you have no right to do all those things. So I said I'll speak in a very straight and clean manner. So that's what I'm trying to do. Let me try my best. So, Mr. Nara, Lokesh, lovely meeting you, sir. And great that you could find time to come here on this pre-100th celebration of this lovely and beautiful university, which is very well known. Mr. J. Rao Garu, it's always a pleasure. In fact, my career in L&T is because of him. That many people don't talk about it, but I have to tell it. I have no inhibition in telling it. As J. Rao grew faster, my promotions also became faster. So I only pray to God that he keeps growing faster, but I have no more promotions to get. But I hope he continues to grow from that point of view. My career was doing projects for J. Rao Guru and the Hyderabad airport, the Delhi airport. We missed the Goa airport, but now we are doing the Bhogapuram airport. We hope to complete it. Then Mr. J. Rao Garu was telling December 26, Nara Lokesh was telling me June 26. I was thinking of what to answer. So I'll find a middle date, September 26 will complete. So that's the way it is. And it's terrific to see some of the beautiful edifices being put up in this country, because airports are an entry point to any country or any state or any city. And when you have these lovely looking structures, you really feel attracted to visit the city again and again, not only for the airport, because the airport looks good, the city has to look good, right? So that's the way the world is. But Mr. Dr. S.V. Adinarayana Rao, orthopedic surgeon. So lovely to hear your history. I don't know much about you, but the kind of operations you've done, the kind of people you have treated is mind-boggling. I don't think people like me will achieve anywhere near even 0.01% of what you have done. But having said that, phenomenal achievement and mind-boggling achievement, sir. Good credit to you and your family. Dr. R. Sasi Pradhan, former Director of Medical Education, Government of Andhra Pradesh. Shri Bharat, Member of Parliament. I just got to know him. And very easygoing gentleman, nice to speak to. So lovely speaking to you and lovely meeting you, so we'll be in touch. I didn't know he runs one of the largest education institutions in this part of the country, and great meeting you, sir. Mr. M.R.D. Shankar Rao, Chairman, Andhra University Alumni Association. I think that's phenomenal to have, 300,000 students and keeping in touch with them, with the Registrar and sending email to them and managing it. He said it's simply brilliantly done. And lovely to see many of Mr. J. Rao's classmates, batchmates and friends sitting all there. I'm surprised because even my yesterday's friend is not coming when I call him, and you all come after 55 years to this function is really brilliant. That is superb networking and fantastic way of connecting with people. And he has done it without email and all that in those days, and still you're all connected. So really brilliant. So I don't know why they invented email. They should have invented J. Rao and it would have all been done. Mr. Dr. K. Kumar Raja, Vice Chairman, Andhra University Alumni Association. Professor G. Sasibhushan Rao, Vice Chancellor, Andhra University. And B.V.N. Garu, GVS Garu, I think he's not there, but Srinivas Garu, IPR Garu, all these are people whom I've grown up with, and lovely to meet all of you. I thought instead of getting into the typical thing of university and all that, I will tell you some four things which I believe will affect humankind as we go forward. And I think that's very important for us to perceive and understand. I'll not take much time about it because I sense of unease, and many of you have been sitting here for more than 2 hours now. I guess many of you want to go to washrooms. The volunteers there are preventing you, so I'll try to do it very fast. So one is a human change, right? There's a massive human change occurring. I don't know how many of you are realizing it, understanding it. the world is getting into a very difficult situation because of this human change. One is the migration from the southern part of America to the northern part of America, because simply wealth is there, money is there, and food is there. The second is a massive movement of population from Africa into Europe. What the Byzantine Empire could not do, what Genghis Khan could not do, the modern invasion is doing that the huge amount of population from Africa is moving into Europe, and that is creating cultural issues, that's creating ghettos, that's creating difference in how people get along with each other and how people behave with each other. And that will lead to huge problems in many parts of not only Eastern Europe but also Western Europe. There are also problems in our part of the world, migration from Bangladesh into India because of the economic issues there. Migration within the states, we have a reverse problem. If I tell you, will you believe me, we employ about 400,000 laborers at any given point of time. If I tell you today I'm not getting laborers, it's be a very surprising thing. And when I tell it to many of my foreign counterparts, they are stunned. A country of 1.4 billion people, SNS, and you say you can't get laborers? I said, yes, we are not getting. At the moment, we need about 45 to 50,000 laborers. This is because in India, the reverse thing is happening. People are not migrating. The reason being that, number one, I think the economy is doing reasonably well. That 6 to 8% growth, okay, one quarter it went down, leave that as an aberration. And therefore, there is reasonable amount of economic activity in every town and villages. Normally in India, the migration was from the eastern states, the western and southern states, which are reasonably much more economically well leveled. But that's not happening at the same momentum as that was happening, let's say, prior to COVID. Second, I think the implementation of the MREGA scheme and implementation of some of the schemes like electrification and Har Ghar Jal Mission, etc., is providing necessary facilities to people right at where they stay. And therefore, there's not much of a need to migrate to difficult places like Bombay, Vizag, Delhi, wherever to sit and work, because at the end of the day, when you migrate, you're in a different situation, you're in a foreign situation, you have to manage tough life, etc., and your family is somewhere else. Most important also, there's another set of area which is booming very well, which is the Middle East. Middle East is really booming with the present oil prices. There are a lot of migrations of Indians to Middle East. We're doing quite reasonably well in the Middle East, and I'd gone to the Saudi and many of the Middle Eastern kingdoms to request the head of ministry there in charge of labor, but they also have what is called a Saudiization, and they have quota system for laborers. So many times I have gone there to request them to allow more Indian laborers to be employed by us, because we're not getting people from some other parts of the world which we normally get. And therefore, all this is becoming issues which we are unable to grapple with. What this means is companies like us will find it difficult to grow, because we grow only if people are employed. We still do the brick and mortar work, and therefore we need labor. The second form of migration that is happening is all you highly educated, lovely looking boys and girls do not want to join this business called construction. Because we make you stand aside and tie a piece of rod and put some shuttering and pour some concrete, and you guys don't like it. All of you are used to this beautiful air-conditioned auditorium, and therefore you want to sit in front of the piano and play the piano, the computer keyboard. And therefore nobody wants to come and work in the construction side. I have a joke which says CSR is equal to BP. CSR is not corporate social responsibility. It's concrete shuttering reinforcement. BP is not blood pressure. BP is blood pressure. It is not. BP is not blood pressure. BP is, that brick and plaster work. So CSR is equal to BP, and that none of you like to do it, because all of you want to play in front of the computer, or you like to work in a retail shop. And therefore all this is leading to a point where you're not able to attract the best of talent to work in an industry like where I am, or you're not able to get labor to pour the CSR that I'm talking about. So this is a very unique problem. The next issue that is coming in the human capital is the population. I think there's a general fertility decline across the globe. India is still very high, but India is also declining. Maybe certain parts of the western and southern states are declining a lot more than the northern states. That's got certain other issues to go with. I'm not an expert in that. But having said that, generally the world is seeing a decline in fertility, and two, the aging of the population. Second point that I'd like to highlight is the sustainability issues. Not many of us apply a mind onto it. We still feel that is somebody else's problem. You see the stubble burning in certain parts of the country. You see the pollution created by the coal plants. You see the oil spills and various forms of carbon created by the ICE vehicles, as they call, internal combustion engines. And that's rapidly changing. The advent of companies like Tesla, BYD, and India now Ola, and many EV vehicles that have come about by various automobile companies has suddenly shifted the fulcrum from an oil consumption to an electric vehicle consumption. We never thought about it for some time. In our own country, with the fantastic policies from the central government, you suddenly find huge amount of solar plants have come up in many parts of the country, especially in Rajasthan and Gujarat, where a fair amount of land is available because of the desert or the salt kind of situation. If I can tell you that another 50 to 60 gigawatts of solar plants will come up in Rajasthan and Gujarat in the next few years because the land is available. We ourselves are building nearly 8 gigawatts in Saudi Arabia. We ourselves can't believe it. And Saudi economy, which was producing 12 million barrels of oil per day, is now come down to 8 million barrels of oil a day. Because one, the general oil consumption has come down across the world. Second, Saudi realized that 30% of the oil they produced was being burnt internally and they could not sell it outside to make that $75-80 per barrel. So they are now using solar power to funnel that, and thereby reducing the dependence on internal oil consumption and selling oil more. So these are all revolutionary changes happening. Wind was never thought about. Of course, India is not endowed with too much wind, except for some in the southern part of the country and some in the middle, in the Solapur, other areas, and maybe in Gujarat area. But wind is still very costly from an Indian point of view. Trust me if I tell you, some of the world's largest wind platforms, these are very unique platforms where there are huge jackets which goes into the sea and huge HVDC and HVAC platforms are being fabricated by us in a yard at Kadupalli, not very far away from here. So these are 35,000 tons, 55,000 tons of fabrication, which we then take it by barge into North Sea or into the US Atlantic coast, and then we erect it onto the sea there to generate wind. These are 15 megawatt wind farms, and there is one which is nearly 20 megawatt of turbine which is going on. So these are absolutely radical changes which are happening. This does not mean that the oil form is going to go away, but what it says is that there's a new form of energy coming up which is renewable or clean. Nuclear is a bad word. Can you believe it now when you say that Microsoft is going to buy 3 Mile Island? Can you trust me now when I say Google is going to build its own nuclear power plant? That situation is very difficult. In reality, you cannot buy a nuclear power plant. But in the United States, it's happening because new data centers are coming up, which are power guzzlers because of the data they use, and therefore these companies find the grid is not able to supply, and they're buying huge nuclear power plants, clean energy, to power the data centers. So a phenomenon which is unheard of and is happening too rapidly, too fast. Suddenly, people are talking about small reactors and medium reactors, which are 5 megawatt, 20 megawatt, maybe 200 megawatt. We are also talking to some of these guys to see whether we can make it in India. Still in India, the regulations are not there because anything to do with nuclear has got a Civil Nuclear Liability Act, and also the fact that NPC is the only company allowed to do nuclear power plants. But who knows, when necessity arises, things change very radically and rapidly. So the clean energy is becoming a different way to look at it. Green energy is becoming a different way to look at it. One never heard of hydrogen as a fuel. So it's a cryogenic fuel. It can burn fast. But suddenly hydrogen is being talked about, and not normal hydrogen, but green hydrogen. So you make solar or wind, and then you burn the water, separate hydrogen and oxygen, and hydrogen used as fuel cells, etc. Maybe transported as ammonia, reconverted into hydrogen and used. It's still very costly compared to the normal fuel. But at some point of time, if hydrogen comes below $1.5 per kilogram, it is as good as the oil at about $65-70 per barrel, and you can have hydrogen as an alternate fuel. So sustainability is going to become a very, very important factor in the world as we go forward, because not only from a climatic point of view, the temperatures are rising, we find it difficult, but at the same time, if the world has to survive and the climatic change from 1.5 degrees centigrade, around that it has to be kept, unless you radically change your mind and do something different. I can tell you the more advanced countries in their cloud will put out norms that if you are not sustainable, if you are not green, you will not be allowed to export, you will not be allowed to visit their countries. All these kind of funny norms will come. And if you don't anticipate it and change ourselves to be somewhat where we need to be, we'll find it difficult. An investment coming into a state, if the state is not having enough green power, the investment will move away from the state to another state. And that's what the leadership should think about, because these are all dramatic changes that happen. The third point that I'd like to emphasize on is the digital change, which is totally stunning, right? It's a terrible thing that is going to happen. This is making people like me outdated, absolutely outdated. You can say I run a highly technologically complex company, but I can tell you 90% of my mind is saying bullshit in front of me because I just don't understand this technology thing. I go into my office and suddenly somebody says, sir, AI use kar raha hoon, Gen AI use kar raha hoon, chat GPT use kar raha hoon, machine learning use kar raha hoon. I know concrete shuttering reinforcement. I don't understand many of these things. Today, in this university, I had a chance, the professor took me to one of the AI labs there, some very young kids, maybe younger than their son also, doing all kinds of AI work, and they were so enthusiastic in explaining to me. Did not allow me to spend too much time there because we had to come here, the minister was coming. But very exciting it was what they were doing, and one guy had even found a bike with some LFP technology, and these are forerunners of what can happen in the world. Digital technology is amazingly changing the world. Can I tell you, in our workshop at Hazira, one welder sitting in one air-conditioned booth is now doing 3 overlay weldings of 2 reactors. Impossible to conceive. Frankly speaking, this welder can sit in his house and do the welding. And these are very complex overlay weldings which very few companies on earth do. And that's the way technology has changed. And he's sitting in an air-conditioned booth because in his house there is no air conditioner. Hazira gets hot in summer, nearly 40, 42 degrees centigrade improvement. This guy is able to sit in his booth, the tea comes there, the flux comes there, the electrodes comes there, he is cool, and he says, why should I go home and work for 12 hours? And we are very cool because the productivity has gone up terrifically, and we are able to do many of our products faster than what we are normally able to do. So that's the rapid change that has happened. We also introduce AI. For example, when you do a weld, now you take thousands of welds that you have done before, put it all into the computer, and if the weld goes wrong, the thickness goes wrong, the depth of weld is wrong, it is able to point out that something is wrong. The welder is able to understand it because all that is put in the screen in front of him, and he does his immediate correction, doesn't need an engineer, doesn't need a manager, the entire hierarchy is not required. The workman is an AI engineer, and that's the way things work. And this is a rapid change that is happening in the world. Many of us are not understanding it, and that this is going to sweep us across. The new solution being thought about, like people like Elon Musk, is humanoid. Or computer connected to the brain, or maybe installed inside the brain, and the brain will be fed with AI and will tell you what to do. When you look at the amount of food, it will tell you what to eat. Looking at your heart or diabetic condition, it may tell you what to eat and what not to eat. And these kind of things are conceivable today, which was not conceivable a few years back. So I think there's a dramatic change in the world, and therefore all you young boys and girls sitting out there, I tell you, the world is very promising and terrifically full of opportunities for all of you. Just my little company is sitting with a backlog of nearly 6 lakh crores. That is 3 years of work. And we need all of you to join. And if you give your application, I'll recruit all of you. So that's the kind of opportunity that is available, not only in India, in the parts of the world that we are prevalent and present. And therefore, plenty of things to do, plenty of opportunities to have. And I was not surprised when the Vice Chancellor told me that 85% of the students are graduating and getting absorbed in one company or the other. And that's the way the world is. Just simply astonishing amount of work available, astonishing amount of things to do. And India itself, you see, it's a steady government, both in the centre and the states, very young leaders coming to the top, which is refreshing. I don't know how many of you know Carnegie Mellon, Stanford, MBA. I don't know how many leaders in the world are like that. I think you must be 1 or 2 like that. And therefore, this is an incredible situation that you have, because Mr. Naidu himself is technologically far advanced, and now his son is becoming more than him, and therefore it's a plus situation for Andhra Pradesh, and a mind-boggling situation out here. And I can tell you this is just never-ending story, and it's a very prosperous situation. So, ladies and gentlemen, really appreciate you letting me speak what I wanted to speak in a manner that I speak, and without any PowerPoint or presentations. I'm not used to this because I'm not a politician, and therefore it's difficult for me to talk just like that, but I think I managed it. But wonderful to be here in front of all of you in this great time when you're celebrating the birth anniversary of the founder, Vice Chancellors, Sirs here ready. And more important, I think next year is the 100th year. How many institutions have been alive for 100 years? You are a very rare gem, let me tell you that. And that, many of you alumni are achieved fantastic things in the world through Nobel laureates, from president, vice president, people like Jim Rao Garu. I think it's an unbelievable university, and it's got miles to go, and beautiful campus of 500 acres where you get it, and everything going for you guys. I think most important, I think maybe the last time I come to Vizag before the Christmas and New Year, let me take the opportunity to wish all of you, your families, your loved ones, a very Merry Christmas, a very happy, prosperous, lovely, great, superb and fantastic New Year. All the very best in everything.
गणनायकाय गणदैवताय गणाध्यक्षाय धीमहि गुणशरीराय गुणमण्डिताय गुणेशानाय धीमहि गुणातीताय गुणाधीशाय गुणप्रविष्टाय धीमहि एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरीतनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय भालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि